Thank you so much, Lisa. What an amazing and empowering conference this has been. Just some incredible, incredible women. And I am absolutely honored to be a part of the lineup. So, as Lisa mentioned, my name's Erika Taylor Montgomery. I'm the founder and CEO of Three Girls Media. We're a full service marketing and public relations agency that's based in the greater Seattle area. And I did not get to this career in being an entrepreneur through maybe what some people would call a traditional route. So I'm going to start at my beginning. Let's go all the way back to my childhood. And I can tell you, it was not a beaver cleaver existence. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and it was an lower middle class income family, but my parents left a lot to be desired when I was a kid. My mom was largely absent. She and my dad didn't really get along, and my mom isn't one who handled conflict well. So her coping mechanism was to avoid. So she, when I was about 6 years old, enrolled in college full time. So she could spend a lot of time away from home and left me in charge of my three younger brothers, the oldest of four. And my dad, his avoidance and coping mechanism was to work. So he was at work a lot of the time. And then when he was at home, he definitely prioritized his friends over his family. His friends were his family. And he would spend many, many hours in the evenings and weekends when he would get home from work with his friends in our, what we call the pool room, because he had a pool table in there. And he taught me from a very young age, about 6 or 7, how to bartend for him and his friends. So I knew from that age how to make a really mean rum and coke, and would service my dad and his buddies for whatever their alcohol needs were. And they did a lot of drugs. My dad became a drug dealer and grew marijuana in our backyard and sold it, which at the time was very taboo. And this was long before the days of legality. So it was very hush hush and very secretive. He also dealt in cocaine and psychedelics and all kinds of other crazy things. And it was a scary time to be a kid in that household. Secrecy was the key. My dad also, besides being really what I came to realize an adult, was an alcoholic and a drug dealer and a drug user, was very physically and verbally abusive to me and my brothers. We were beaten with a belt regularly to the point where we were black and blue, and we had teachers call Child Protective Services. We had family members call Child Protective Services, my aunt. Unfortunately, CPS did nothing, but it was a scary, violent, lonely childhood. And you might think that someone from that background wouldn't necessarily have the best chances. But despite my childhood, I've always been a very positive thinker. I've always been a glass is half full type of mentality. And so eventually, when my mom kicked me out at the age of 17, the very first time I ever stood up to her and said, no, I wasn't going to do something that she had asked me to do. I had finally decided I was going to rebel. And she kicked me out that first time. And I packed a bag and I left. And I called home later that night and said, I want to come back. And my dad said, no, you're out of here. So I was on the streets for a few nights, just trying to find a place to lay my head. It was terrifying. Finally, my aunt took me in after a couple of days. And from that point on, I've been on my own. I was always a good student as a child, and got good grades despite what was going on in my home life, and was determined to make something of myself. I had always dreamed of being a doctor and loved medicine. And unfortunately, my proclivity for science wasn't the best. I was pulling, low B's and C's in those subjects. And it was difficult to think about getting into medical school, not doing very well in those subjects. So that's okay. I fell in love with theater. I did some theater while I was in high school. My English teacher had challenged me to try out for the school play for extra credit. So on a whim, I decided I'd take the extra credit and tried out for the school play and landed the lead role. Who knew, right? I was terrified, but got bitten by the theater bug and really enjoyed it and participated in every play and school musical for my high school career. And so I decided I'm living on my own. I got a job waiting tables and I'm going to put myself through college. And so I signed up as a theater major and was really enjoying what I had learned, being in theater classes and being in sort of a higher level of theater, and was thinking it would be wonderful to make a career out of this. But at some point, for some reason, it dawned on me that having a quote unquote career as an actress would probably mean continuing to wait tables most of my life and then have the occasional role in community theater or something like that. I just know what it took to actually make it in the industry, and it's so few and far between. I just thought it would be maybe not the answer for a steady career for me. And I wasn't sure what to do, honestly. So I had a boyfriend at the time, and he had signed up for an introduction to broadcasting class at our college that fulfilled a general ed requirement, and also was more time for me to spend with him. So I was like, yeah, sign me up. I'm in for this general ed class, Intro to Broadcasting. And I really didn't know what I'd learn or what it would be about, but it sounded like a pretty easy A, and getting to spend more time with the boyfriend on top of it sounded like a good deal. So I was in. And suddenly in that class, I got bitten by the broadcasting bug. And it wasn't that much different than theater. It was just a different medium. So I actually graduated with a degree in broadcasting and was lucky enough to get my very first job in radio, working at a rock and roll station in Concord, which is a city in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I got the weekend overnight shift, was my very first radio job. I was so excited. And I got to stay up all night on the weekends, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night playing rock and roll. And I just thought I was it. I was loving life. And I've always been the kind of person to shoot for a goal. So it was ultimately my goal to get to do morning show programming in San Francisco proper. And morning shows are considered the cream of the crop of broadcasting. It is the number one shift. It's when there's the most listeners. It's the biggest, the best, and the brightest. And that's where I wanted to be. So slowly but surely, I applied at bigger stations and better shifts and worked my way up slowly but surely until I landed my dream job. For the last 10 years of my broadcasting career in radio and television, I worked as a morning show co-host. For those of you that were around in the 70s and 80s, you might remember Greg Kihn, who was a musician, and he had the Greg Kihn Band. He was really famous for the breakup song and for the Jeopardy song. The last 5 years of my morning show career, I co-hosted a morning show with Greg Kihn, which was a blast. He's an amazing guy. And the challenge of working morning radio, I came to discover, is although it's the desired shift where everybody wants to be, it's hard. Not hard in terms of the work, which I loved and came very easily to me, but hard in terms of the schedule. I had to be up at 6 o'clock or at 2 o'clock in the morning to be out of the house by 3, to drive to San Francisco and be on the air by 4, or prepare by 4 and be on the air at 5. And then you're off the air at 9 or 10. You do some promotional work, you do some commercials, recording, whatever else, appearances. You're back home, and then you do it all over again, trying to go to bed at 6 o'clock in the evening to get up again at 2 o'clock in the morning. And as I ultimately got married and had a young son, working those kinds of hours was difficult. It was really hard. Just when your family wants to have dinner and sit down and watch a movie or play games after dinner, you're like, sorry, I got to bail. I've got to go to bed. So I started thinking that maybe there was a way for me to use all of the skills that I had learned and grown as a member of the media over that amazing 2-decade career that I had had, without necessarily being a member of the media anymore. And I didn't want to give up that morning shift that I loved so much and do something that I loved less. And going to another shift wasn't necessarily the right answer for me at the time. It was sort of a step down in my career if I would have taken a different shift or a different time frame or moved out of San Francisco. It just really didn't feel like I'd be heading in the right direction. And I'm much more about moving ahead, forging a new path, doing something bigger, better, more exciting. So is I had in my mind that I was ultimately going to wind down my broadcasting career and look for something new. I decided to do some research. And I spent time at the library. I spent time talking to other professionals and really looked into where I could use my knowledge of the media, where I could use my years of experience in broadcasting and have it really pay off for the biggest bang for buck. And I came up with the world of marketing and public relations. It seemed like a really good fit. Did I know the industry? No, not at all. But I know that for years, these are the type of people that were coming to me, marketers and PR people were coming to me, looking for me to cover their products and services as a broadcaster. And so I thought, what if I flipped the script and went the other direction? So I literally started cold calling some PR and marketing agencies in Silicon Valley. And at the time, I had a pretty well-known name in San Francisco. And so I said, this is who I am, and I'm willing to start at the bottom of the food chain. If you're willing to teach me about marketing and PR, I'm willing to start at the bottom and teach you everything that I know about the media and about broadcasting and about that particular world. And there was one CEO at one PR agency that was crazy enough to say yes to me. And she called me in on the spot for an interview. She said, can you be here in an hour? And I was like, Really? And little did she know, I was in my PJs, my hair was a mess, I had no makeup on, and my car was literally in the shop that day being repaired. I had no way to get there. No way at all. So I said, my car's actually in the shop. I don't have a way to get there. And she said, no problem. Call a cab. I'll pay for it. I was like, oh my gosh. So what am I going to say? I have to say yes, of course. So I call a cab. The cab says, we'll be there in 15 minutes. I'm like, holy cow. So I go throw on some clothes, throw my hair up in a bun, grab my makeup bag and my purse. The cab arrives. I'm putting on my makeup in the back of the cab in a flurry as he drives me 15 minutes away to this major PR agency in Silicon Valley. I'm nervous as all get out because I know nothing about how to prepare for this particular interview since it's an industry I don't really know all that well and I've only done a little research on, and I'm just hoping for the best. So I take a deep breath when I get out of the cab, say a prayer to the universe, and calmly breathe as I walk up to the front desk and say who I'm there to talk to. And they pull me in for an interview, and I meet with the CEO and the executive vice president of this company. And the interview went really well. Fortunately, they didn't ask me anything that I wasn't comfortable answering. And little did I know they offered me the job. So I was thrilled. On the spot, they offered me a job, and I was going to start the following Monday, which was, I think the interview was on a Thursday, and I was going to start the job on Monday. So they hired me as a junior level account executive. And that was great because I didn't have any pressure to perform out the gate. They knew that I was very green, but they knew that I had a tremendous knowledge of the media. And so it worked out. And as I got my feet wet and learned an entirely new industry, I came to love it. I came to love marketing and PR and how creative it was. And it had so many similarities to the broadcasting industry in terms of that creative streak. And I slowly worked my way up in that agency until 2 years later, I had become their director of media relations. And again, always being on that path of growth and looking for newer and bigger and better opportunities and looking to grow myself personally and professionally, I'd finally capped out there. And I knew that there was no place that I could continue to grow at that particular agency. So after 3 years, I decided to spread my wings a little bit farther, and I became a press secretary for the California State Legislature. Talk about responsibility. Wow. And that was hardcore. And talk about pressure. Everybody says how dirty the world of politics is, but I had no idea what I was getting myself into in the world of politics until you've seen it from behind the scenes. It is dirtier than you could ever imagine. It is grungy. It is hardcore. It is an old boys club to the nth degree. It was eye-opening, to say the least. And I worked in particular for one senator in California for quite a while. And believe it or not, it was the worst case of sexual harassment I have ever been in my life. And I thought that I had experienced some sexual harassment in broadcasting as a woman because the broadcasting industry, even to this day, is still an old boys club, very sadly. But back in the 80s and 90s, it was even worse. And I thought I'd experienced some pretty hardcore stuff in broadcasting. But there was nothing that compared to the sexual harassment that my team and I survived with this one particular female senator. And that's what made it so extraordinary, is that she was a woman. And yet the things that she would say to us and the disgusting jokes that she would tell and the detailed stories that she would share with us of her sexual exploits and the affairs that she was having. She was married and she was having affair with the Speaker of the House, and would share explicit details of her exploits. It was disgusting. And it was such an awkward position to be in. And finally, after banding together, me and several other staffers decided to go to the Rules Committee for the legislature. And the Rules Committee, if you don't know, is kind of like their HR department. And so we forged a formal complaint with the HR department. And it was really sad to see that they banded together to support the senator. And I left the legislature under not great circumstances. I was very proud of the work that I had done, but I couldn't stomach being in that kind of abusive position anymore. And so I was stuck. When I left the legislature, I was depressed. I felt defeated. I felt like, what do I do now? I had literally spent the last 6 years of my life between the legislature and the PR agency that I had worked for, working 80 to 90 hours a week for other people, either this big PR firm or the legislature, being at their beck and call, bending over backwards, spilling my blood, my sweat, my tears, everything I'd given for these companies. And I just felt used. I felt wasted. I felt awful. And I had to ask myself, what am I doing this for? I've got no time with my family. My husband doesn't see me. My son doesn't see me. I'm just not living the life that I want to live. And it was a real eye opener for me. It was just such a slap in the face to realize that I was so unhappy. And I had to ask, what am I going to do now? Am I going to go back to work for another Silicon Valley marketing and PR agency where I'm going to work another 80 to 90 hours a week for someone else? And, have a CEO tell me, like one CEO did, that I couldn't leave to go to my son's cello concert because she wanted me to stay and work on a project? And the answer was an affirmative no. No, I'm not going to go back to that. But what was I going to do? And at that point, I decided there needed to be more to life. There really needed to be that magic phrase that we all hear, work-life balance. What did that mean? And how could I make it reality for me? How could I have a career that I loved and still have time for my family and do something that I enjoy and be able to go to those cello concerts and soccer games and have date nights with my husband where I wasn't falling asleep at the restaurant and all of these things? And I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do me. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Now, I had zero experience as an entrepreneur. I had zero experience running a business, and I knew nothing about even where to begin. I figured I was going to start my own marketing and PR company because that's essentially what I'd done for the last 6 years of my life. And I'd done broadcasting 20 years before that, and I had a pretty good bead on marketing and public relations and broadcasting and all of that. And I figured, I know what I'm doing, so why can't I do it for myself? And at the time, Uh, I didn't have a mentor. So I started literally calling up friends who I knew had their own businesses or other businesses that I admired and asking to take the owners out to lunch or coffee. Let me pick your brain. How did you start your business? What do you know about where I need to begin? Where do I even start? And at the time, the internet was still a relatively new thing. And if you can believe that, thinking back to those days, and starting your own website was not something a lot of people did, but I managed to hunt and peck my way through starting my very first website for my business. And I got business cards printed and I started a bank account for the company and I settled on a name, Three Girls Media. And a lot of people ask me where the name comes from, and I'll share that with you. A lot of people assume that Three Girls Media was started by three sisters or three friends or three women all together or something like that. And there's actually nothing of the sort. I knew that I wanted the company to have a creative and catchy name. And in the world of marketing and PR, what we really do is spread the word about something, one way, shape, or form. We spread the word about things. And so if you want to spread the word quickly about something, what do? All you have to do is tell three girls, and before you know, it is out there like wildfire. And so I thought that would be such a cute name for the company, Three Girls Media, with the thought of whispering in each other's ear and spreading the word about our clients. So I adopted that as the company name and found a really cute graphic of three girls chatting together as our logo. And I was off and running. And looking back now, I've been in business almost 17 and a half years as an entrepreneur. And back in those first couple of years, it was scary what I did not know. I really took that leap of faith and dove off the high board of the swimming pool, not knowing if there was going to be water there to catch me. Honestly, I knew nothing about bookkeeping. I knew nothing about taxes. I knew nothing about hiring. I knew nothing about HR. I knew nothing about so many things. But what I want to relate to you, and if you take nothing else away from this talk today, I want you to know that that's okay. You don't have to have all the answers because I truly believe that every single one of you watching this presentation today is a really smart woman. And even though you might not have all the answers at your fingertips, you can probably find them. Even starting with a simple Google search can go a long way. We all have friends we can ask, family we can ask, admired individuals we can ask for help and insight for different things that we may need. And even though I didn't know about all of those things, I learned. It was slow, it was hard, it was challenging. My mind was a sieve and exploding all at the same time. There was just so much to take in and so much to absorb and so much to learn about being an entrepreneur. But you know what? As hard as those first couple of years were, it has been equally, if not more so, rewarding every single step of the way. And sitting here almost 2 decades later now, I don't regret a second of it. Changing that first career when I made the decision to move from broadcasting into marketing, and so I could have better work-life balance and have better hours for me and my family was really the first step. But then after my debacle working in government for a few years and deciding to become an entrepreneur where I really controlled the work-life balance in my life, made such a huge difference for me and my family. And I've grown the company today to a group of a dozen amazing team members. I've got the most fantastic team, and work life balance is absolutely core to our company culture. It's who we are as a business. Happy employees to me are productive employees. And if somebody wants to take the afternoon off to go rollerblading, more power to them. I could care less. Go have a good time, recharge. If somebody wants to take time to go to a movie or take an extra long lunch or whatever they want to do, it's fine by me. I love that, and I love that about my life. I love that we can each take time for our families, our hobbies, our pets, our kids, and really do what we love to do. And believe me, if I can change careers, not just once, but twice, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. I look back at those days, both when I decided to leave broadcasting and when I decided to become an entrepreneur. And I know it's a leap of faith. And what a lot of you may be asking yourselves is, I'm afraid at the loss of income. Maybe you have a significantly paying job right now, and you're wondering, if I go out on my own, am I going to be able to make the same amount of money that I'm making now, or at least in a short period of time? And for me, that answer was no. I did not make a ton of money right out the gate, nor, frankly, am I making a ton of money now. Am I getting by? Do I have good quality of life? Absolutely, I do. But I didn't make the decision to make the career changes that I did because I wanted to get rich quick or because I was in it to become a millionaire. Not that there's anything wrong with those goals if that's what you have in mind. But for me, it wasn't about the money. It really, at its core, was about work life balance and living a life that I loved and being able to sleep in the mornings. I'm not an early morning riser. After my last 10 years in broadcasting and getting up at 2 a.m., I never realized how sleep deprived I was for an entire decade until I stopped doing morning broadcasting. I never realized how sleep deprived I was. And now, if I have to get up before 8 a.m., that is early. That is early. Also, I've scheduled my life being able to work from home. My entire company has been virtual long before COVID. We've been a virtual agency now for 15 years. So when COVID hit us, it really wasn't, a thing. We had figured it out how to work remotely as a team. And so I get to roll out of bed at 8 o'clock in the morning, put on my comfy clothes, and I'm at my computer by 9 or 9:15. And that's perfectly fine. And I love that life. I love being able to, go out in the yard and visit my flock of chickens in the middle of the day, or go out in the front yard with my dog for a while, or take a long lunch. And you can have that kind of life too. You get to decide. Don't ever be afraid to take that leap, because gosh knows it was terrifying. I'm not saying it's not scary, but again, if I can do it, you can do it. And it has been the most rewarding and the best decisions I have made in my life, and I don't regret a day of it. Have there been hard times? You bet. Are there going to be hard times to come? You bet. But is it worth it? In my mind, 110%. So I just want to be able to inspire you today, let you know that it's okay not to have all the answers, that it's okay to do something different. It's okay to follow your dreams. And if you're not sure what that dream is, and you're not sure what the right career choice is for you, but you just want to do something different, that's okay too. You can do what I did and take a couple months and do some some research, whether you're spending time on Google or whether you're going to the library or whether you're, doing any kind of research or reading books or, anything like that. You can find something that is going to make your soul happy. And that's really what the most important thing is, isn't it, in life? Is making sure your soul is happy and having that thing that makes you feel fulfilled besides family. If a career is what you want and you want a job outside the home, then you should be able to have it doing something you love. So I really encourage you to take that leap of faith, to look out for you, to follow your dreams, and know that even if you don't have all the answers, you can hunt and peck and find your way along the winding road that can be a career and ultimately end up doing something that you love. I've done it, and it's just so meaningful to me. And I'm blessed that I've been able to create a life that I love. And now I do have time for family, and I do have time for work, and I do have time for hobbies and things I enjoy. And so I really wish the same for you. Um, as we wrap up today, I just wanted to share with you a little bit about my business more in depth. So as you've seen on the screen here, again, it's threegirlsmedia.com. We're a full service marketing and PR agency, and we do all kinds of marketing, everything from helping our clients manage their social media accounts to strategy, to advertising, whether it's social media advertising or Google advertising. We also do blogging for search engine optimization. We do email marketing. We do website design and build, graphic design, influencer marketing. There's just a huge ball of wax that we offer our clients. And we work with clients in every industry you could possibly imagine, which keeps my life really interesting. We're always working with new clients in different industries, and it's really so much fun. And I always offer a complimentary 30-minute consultation. So if you have a business or you're thinking of starting a business and you wanted to pick my brain, I'd like to offer you that complimentary 30 minutes. You can simply go to our website at threegirlsmedia.com, go to our contact page and fill out the little form there, reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to set up a time to talk again, whether it's about your marketing or whether it's about a career change that you're thinking of making or any other advice that I can possibly offer you. I think as women, we really need to support each other and be here for each other. And this is my gift to you, my gift of time that I can offer. So I encourage you to take me up on that if you'd like, and visit my website. If you're looking for articles for your business to up your marketing game, you can visit our blog, Three Girls, a Dog, and a Marketing blog. There are thousands of articles there that we've written that are full of amazing content all about marketing and PR and social media that'll really help you increase your skills in that area. And I know that I only have a couple minutes left. And so if anybody had a question, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. But it's been my absolute pleasure to be here today. I encourage you to follow your dreams like I have, and look forward to enjoying the rest of the conference for you or with you.